Have you ever wondered if there's an opportunity for you in an industry that is cruelty-free to animals and totally vegan? If you're an image consultant like Ginger Burr, you know there is. Today, we're talking with Ginger about how she transitioned to being a vegan image consultant. So stick around. Well, welcome everybody. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. And today I am really excited with my featured expert who, a little different than what I normally bring onto the show because Ginger Burr is an image consultant. And she's been doing this for quite a while. She focuses on women over the age of 40, maybe even older than that, which I have a lot of questions about that, Ginger, because as I move into my late 60s, I want to know, what do I do to make sure that I'm looking appropriate, but I'm not looking frumpy? And it's just crazy because as I was looking at your website with its Total Image Consultants, and you have a book, That's So Me. We're going to talk about that. But before we really dig in, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and let us know, how did you get involved with image consulting and the whole vegan side of image consulting?
Yes, thank you, Kathleen, for having me here. I'm really excited to talk with you. I've been an image consultant for over 30 years, so more than half my life. And I got into that because I had no clue how to dress myself. I've struggled through my teens. I struggled all through my 20s. I would see other women, they would look really good. I'd even try to dress exactly like them, and somehow it just didn't work on me. I didn't feel good in what I was wearing. And then one day I was about to turn 30 and I met a woman who had a workshop called Fashion, Color, and Image. And I thought, ooh, I'll take that. It was a 3-day workshop. That was it. I was in that. She was giving me answers I had always wondered about. She was gracious. She was beautiful. It was just life-changing, totally life-changing for me. And I realized that I hadn't gone to the workshop necessarily thinking I would do a business, but I realized I picked it up quickly. I enjoyed it. And she was willing to teach me and train me and mentor me. So I was very lucky. And I did that. I've been doing that now for all of these years. And then about 15 years ago, I haven't eaten red meat in over 40 years. Mm-hmm. But I did I ate eggs and I ate fish and dairy and all that stuff. And then one day my partner and I were doing more research on where our food came from. And I discovered that although I hadn't eaten veal as long as I could ever remember, by eating dairy, I was contributing directly to the veal industry, and I was beyond horrified. I was so upset. And I found out more about veganism, and I went vegan that day. I just decided I cannot take any chances anymore that I am contributing to animal cruelty and suffering. And then, of course, I had to look at, okay, what does that mean for my wardrobe and my lifestyle and my business? So mm-hmm. that, was the next step.
Well, it's interesting. First of all, how long have you been vegan? Like 100%?
15 years.
Okay,
15.
so I'm a baby vegan compared to you. I've been a little over 2 years, but I'm like totally committed to it. And when I first started out, I didn't want to call myself a vegan because vegans are radical, they're crazy. And now I call myself a vegan because like you, the more I find out, the more shocked I am. And it's interesting because a lot of people don't really know what goes on in the industry, and they think it's just about being radical in our beliefs, but it really is about compassion to animals. And how has that changed the way you do business? Because I know that you work on a level where you really educate people about, look at all the different products, whether it's animal testing on makeup, whether it's the fabrics that we use. I was thinking about goose down pillows, for example, or the leather seats in my car. I'm going to keep my car for a while, but I look at that and I think those are things that 5-10 years ago we didn't even consider, and now it's in our everyday decisions. So how have things shifted in your business as a result of going vegan and really being aware of what you need to do to educate your market?
Well, when I first went vegan, there was no question in my mind that I was going vegan, but all of a sudden I had this moment of panic when I thought, okay, how is this going to impact my business? I'm an image consultant and I need to look good and I like to look good. And
you look
going
great.
to be, Oh,
They
thank
look
you.
great. Yeah, I saw your pictures of when you were in your 20s. So big difference, big difference.
Yes, big differences for sure. Believe me, I put everything that I teach all of my clients, I have to work on as well.
Absolutely.
But, I just thought, how am I going to translate this? And then I said, oh, Ginger, my goodness, take a breath and look in your closet. And I looked in my closet and, I had pretty much no wool because I had had a moth problem for a while and they had eaten most of the wool, and I found wool itchy anyway. So I had very little wool except maybe a winter coat, and not much silk because silk is so hard to care for and all of that. I had leather. I did have leather. And that's where, for me, the biggest change came in was, what do I do now? And 15 years ago, now I have friends, you probably do too, who have been vegan for 40 or more years. I don't know how they found shoes and all of that back 40 years ago, because even 15 years ago was a little bit challenging. And now it's a total breeze. But in my business, what I then looked at was, first of all, how was I going to present myself? And I realized that wasn't an issue at all. And then what I thought is, okay, well, what am I going to do about how I share fashion with people?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so now, by no means are all of my clients vegan. I do have vegan clients, but trust me, most of my clients are not. However, I use, for those who want it, I use my knowledge of animal fabrics and the animal cruelty out there to educate my clients who want to be educated. And also in any of my newsletters, if you look at any newsletter on my blog, every single example that I share about whatever topic I'm talking about, every single example is vegan. I will not put anything on there that is made out of leather or wool or silk or down or fur. I just can't in good conscience do that. And also at the same time, it gives me the opportunity to show people that no matter what I'm talking about in terms of fashion or style, it can easily be translated into a vegan option.
Right, absolutely. And I want to remind people, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. And I'm talking with Ginger Burr, who is an image consultant, and her company is Total Image Consultants, where you can find her at totalimageconsultants.com. And I want to remind people also that if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button and the bell notification. You'll be informed when new episodes come out. And if you're listening to the audio, go ahead and subscribe to the channel you're listening on. Now, your book, That's So You. Tell us about your book. When did you write it, and what's the premise of the book?
I wrote it about five years ago. I had always wanted to write a book, and I realized I had so much information out there in various places and so much information in my head that I really wanted to get out to more people. And it was another way for me to be able to connect with people, and maybe even people who I wasn't able to work with personally, they would at least have some information there. My choice was to make it very evergreen. So you're not going to see a lot of photos in there that will be obsolete or out of date in a couple of years, because the trends are changing. I really wanted to speak to the heart and soul of what makes your style your style. And that is, looking at who are you, looking at actionable steps that you can take to begin, cleaning out your closet, bringing in new things. I have a chapter in there on vegan fashion for those who want to know more. I have a chapter in there on how to age gracefully, because as you mentioned, most of my clients, myself included, are over 40. Many of them are well over 40, like I am.
Well over 40.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. And the fashion industry ignores us, neglects us, forgets that there are women out there with curves and, tummies and hips and all of that, we still want to dress well and look great, but we can't wear those things that a 5'10", 17-year-old skinny model can wear.
Right.
So yeah, my book is there for women who want to just take that first step and start to really look at their wardrobe and their style from a new perspective.
Well, let's go dig a little deeper into that. Let's say that somebody wants to dig into their closet and they want to really complement their body type. And because as I get older, I get shorter, which is really interesting, because I was one of those 5'10", but I was a yo-yo dieter all my life. And, it's so interesting, because what happens with a lot of women is as we gain weight, we forget that we need to go up in the clothes size too. We try to fit ourselves into something we used to wear. And as I approach my late 60s, I look at what do I need to do? And part of what my challenge is I don't want to look like my grandmother looked. I don't want to look like my mother looked. I don't want to look frumpy. So I, as you can tell with the hairdo, I'm a little edgy, and I used to be very into leather too. And that was one of the first big changes I made. I will not buy leather shoes, no leather clothing whatsoever. But what would be a starting place for somebody? Let's say they're not interested in being vegan, but they do want to do it compassionately, and they want to look in their closet and make some changes. What would you recommend to them?
Well, there are changes that you can make that have absolutely nothing to do with the fabrics in a way. And that is, it's really important, particularly as we get older, to make sure you're wearing colors that look amazing on you. And, there's a lot of black and gray out there in the world. And
yes. I have to say, I thought about what color should I wear? I have a beautiful fuchsia blouse, and I thought, should I wear that or should I wear it? So I get that.
You look good in black, though. And if you do, then hey, unfortunately I do not. But my thing is rock whatever color you wear. But a lot of women, I'm sure you've seen this, they default to black and gray because it's easy. If they want to disappear a little bit or blend in a little bit, they can. But a lot of times what happens for us is if it really is not a color that makes you look great, it's going to make you feel a little haggard, a little tired, a little, lines will show up more in your face, all of those things.
Interesting.
And the other thing that I am very, very big on, in fact, this morning I was just doing a consultation with a woman on this, is I'm really a big believer in, you already talked a little bit about this, you're edgy. It's very important to know who you are deep down inside, because that allows you then to understand how to express yourself and reflect who you are on the inside, on the outside. If you don't do that, you will never, ever, ever feel comfortable in your clothes. You will always feel like you're wearing somebody else's clothes. You're wearing a costume. You feel blah. That's what happened to me 20 years ago. I was dressing like other women who I was seeing out there, and it was them. It wasn't me.
Right. Well, I remember years ago, I moved to an area. I actually moved to Utah and moved to an area where it was pretty conservative, a lot of perms, and I went through my looking like Utah look. It's like I got a perm and I really dressed down, and it just didn't fit. One day I looked in the mirror, it was like, what am I doing? And it's kind of like, that's so you. The book title is great, where you look in the mirror and you go, what happened? And so as you look at what's going on with the aging population, what are some real simple tips and tricks besides the color that women especially can use to look more vibrant, to feel more vibrant? Because I know myself, I exercise a lot. I run every day. I do yoga every day. I drink I've got my water right here. I drink a gallon of water every day. So physically, I take very good care of myself, but I'm always curious, what can I do to improve the vibrancy through what I wear?
Yeah. Well, there are a couple things. One is that sometimes when our bodies change, I've had many of my clients say, you know what, I haven't gained an ounce, but all of a sudden now I have this tummy. Where did that come from? And so what they used to wear isn't working for them anymore. And what happens a lot of times with women is that when they're seeing a part of their body they're not that happy about, they I'm going to throw lots of fabric on it. I'm going to throw things that are oversized. And with all that's going on with the pandemic right now, and it was happening before that anyway, everything is very oversized. It's very shapeless. And when you throw that on over your body that isn't making you happy, you're just going to feel more shapeless and like a blob, basically.
Right.
My thing really is buy clothes that skim your body. You don't want them skin tight, particularly if you have, some lumps and bumps going on that you're feeling a little self-conscious about, but you want clothes that just skim your body, or have them tailored so they skim your body. You'll feel better in them. You're not going to feel, like your body is larger than it is. It's going to really be much more attractive and flowing. Also, be careful of your neckline. A lot of times there's a lot of very high necks out there right now, and they aren't always those crew necks. They aren't always that flattering on a lot of women. A pretty V-neck or a scoop neck tends to be more flattering, and it also can allow you to wear a necklace, that kind of thing. And the other thing is, particularly with the pandemic right now, a lot of women are going to their natural hair color. And I salute you. I think it's totally awesome. I've had many of my clients do that and they look great. but you really need to make sure you have a fabulous haircut, and that and just to come back to colors again, your colors, if you used to have dark hair and now you're salt and pepper or white, the colors that will look good on you now are different from the colors that would look good on you when you had dark hair. And it's very important to know that and to change them, because otherwise it's all going to look harsh and like it doesn't look like it goes together.
That's a great point. And your color looks great. I mean, the color of your clothing, your jewelry, your hair, your makeup, it all looks wonderful, which I love that because you're walking the talk. And I remember years ago, I went to a women's professional networking meeting, and there was a woman who called herself an image consultant. She had runs in her nylons, which I was shocked. Her makeup was smearing. She didn't have clothes that flattered her. And I thought, I would never, ever want your advice. But somebody like you, I look at your image and it's like, looks great. Now, I want to remind people again, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show, and I'm talking with Ginger Burr of totalimageconsultants.com. That's totalimageconsultants.com. I highly recommend you go to Ginger's website because, Ginger, I was very impressed with your website. You've got videos on there. You've got access to your book where they can buy it on Amazon. I do recommend that as we get older that we turn to the experts. And speaking of experts and being vegan, where do you see the industry going as far as the vegan movement? Because years ago, there was a lot of criticism, and I think more and more people are accepting it, but there's still a lot of judgment when people say I'm a vegan, or in my case, I started out, I said I was a plant-based eater, and people would go, are you still on that crazy diet? And it's not a diet, although I did drop 38 pounds, but it really is a lifestyle. So where do you see all that going as we move forward, especially with the pandemic? And I'd love to talk about health issues around the pandemic and being vegan.
Well, I'm very hopeful that we're beginning to move even more quickly. There's a much stronger movement towards plant-based eating, veganism, all of that, partly because of the pandemic, because people are realizing that the original source of the COVID came from animals, and the wet markets and how we treat animals and the close proximity to animals and all the horrible things we do to animals. And so, although it hasn't been brought up as much as personally I think it should be, it's the word is getting out there. And the other thing that is happening is with all of the climate issues, a drive for more sustainability. And not that veganism and sustainability always go hand in hand, but the people who are creating vegan options purposefully to be vegan have often more of a mindset towards sustainability. And I've had several really incredible conversations with Nicole Rawling of innovativematerials.org. I hope I have her website correct. And she is someone who is seeing firsthand where all this is going, because one of the things that she's helping to move forward are new innovations in plant-based materials.
Nice.
And particularly leathers that are being made now from, pineapple.
Yes, I
apple,
read about that.
Mulberry leaves, mushrooms. I mean, everything you can imagine. And they are gaining here's my Hosen handbag that's made out of pineapple leather. It's the coolest
incredible
handbag. And she told me that there are high-end designers, many in the French Parisian area, who are looking at more sustainable, environmentally friendly options to traditional leather, because they need to know, they always have to know in order to stay viable, where the industry is going. They see that's where the industry is going, and they are looking into this. So
I love that.
Oh, just made me so happy.
Well, I have to say, I was really pleased, and we're not talking politics at all, but I'm just talking about the direction that things are going. When President-elect Biden talked about the climate change and about sustainability, and that's something that hasn't been talked about a lot in the last 4 years. If anything, we've moved away from it, and that was very shocking to me. And especially, it was in the middle of the last administration that I came to be a vegan, and the more I study, the more shocking it is with factory farming, with the wet markets, with all of that, with the diseases that go with it, which really ties into the whole health issue. You look incredible. You look very healthy. How much do you think the pandemic would be a different story, at least the complications, if more people were conscientious about the products that they put into their body, not just on their body, but into their body? Because when I look at it with the comorbidity and the underlying causes that cause complications, a lot of that could be fixed, in my opinion, by people choosing different food products. So what's your take on that?
Well, I wish that the medical industry was more forthcoming with people about how they could make changes that could benefit their health and not put them at such high risk for things like COVID being a deadly disease. Because a lot of people can get COVID and recover just fine.
Yes.
But it's the people with, diabetes and things that really put their body and their immune systems at risk, who then are at much higher risk for, death and terrible things happening with COVID. And, I really think the medical industry does a great disservice by not teaching their doctors more about nutrition and for being more aware of how nutrition really can impact somebody's health and change their health. I was just watching Chef AJ interviewing Dr. McDougall recently, and he has had amazing results with getting people off their medications, ending their diabetic issues, all of those things just by changing what they eat. And I think we owe it to people to make this this information more available.
Absolutely. Actually, Chef AJ, she dropped something like 60 pounds. I had her on my show a few months ago, and phenomenal woman. And, what I love is I look at what you're doing within the image consulting industry and how you're bringing awareness to it. And what I'm looking for are the people that we all have a commitment to raising awareness around not only compassion to animals, but our health and to the environment. And I just love what you're doing. And what I'd like to know is, what do you see for yourself in the coming years as you grow your visibility as a vegan image consultant, even though not all your clients are vegan, but you never know that, it's that one little thing that you can say to a person that changes their life forever. So, Ginger, as you move forward into 2021 and beyond, what do you see for yourself?
Well, I love what I do. So I'm very lucky that I get to do this all the time, and I have amazing clients. And you're right. There have been times in the past when I thought, gosh, is anybody even listening to what I'm saying about veganism and, the materials and how it affects our style and animal suffering and all of that. And then, out of the blue, someone will say, oh, look, I just bought this faux leather handbag and I'm so excited. It's because you told me blah, blah, blah. And it's exciting. I see that, I have to say that in my lifetime, I never would have thought that gay marriage would be a thing. I mean, really gain federal, acceptability.
Right.
And that happened. So now that makes me think, okay, I never thought that could happen. So I have this feeling that veganism is just going to be, it's going to expand exponentially. And so ultimately, I would love to have all my clients be vegan, willingly, excitedly be vegan.
Right.
And to have more awareness out there that I can share what's going on, but also not be the only, I'm not the only one out there who does this, but to have more of the image industry
Right.
be visible and be vegan and promoting that. So I think it's more of a sort of a global sort of wish for the next, few years in my business. And I
Awesome.
like to think that that's going to happen.
That's awesome. And I think we need to give a big shout out to Katrina Fox, because it's because of her that we were able to meet through
Absolutely.
the International Vegan Women's Network, I believe is the name. I'll put the link below,
Yeah.
but phenomenal organization. I have
Yes.
met some of the most incredible vegan women who are running very successful businesses and aligned with your values. I mean, this is what I love about being able to have the podcast show and bring people like yourself, Ginger, onto the show, is that it's so aligned with my values. Because I have to tell you, before I went vegan, I actually was doing animal rescue. I've worked within the pet industry for years.
Yeah.
And one day it hit me, it was like, wow, you've been kind of a fraud, because here you're rescuing animals, talking about love and compassion for animals, and you're eating them.
Yeah.
And I remember the
yeah.
day in the grocery store where it hit me that I walked by the meat department and I could feel the pain and suffering. And I think, with what you're doing, I just so applaud you. And I encourage people to visit your website, totalimageconsultants.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And in closing, Ginger, what are your final thoughts for what's going on in the world today and how people can really become more aware about what it means to be a vegan?
Well, I think it's really important that we have access to the internet, unlimited access to the internet. It doesn't take very long to do a quick search, and the information is out there, like, deforestation. What causes deforestation? It's primarily animal agriculture that is doing that is causing us to lose the land and the rainforests and all of those things. A little bit of research will bring you so much information. Maybe you want to think, okay, maybe I will explore vegan handbags. There are so many vegan handbag designers out there all over the world. Do a quick search, find out where you can. I have a beautiful Guinness bag down here that I totally love, my lovely Hosen bag. There are so many ways that you can begin to explore the possibilities and realize that you do not have to sacrifice style. You do not have to sacrifice comfort by dressing in a way that is cruelty-free. And I totally encourage people to do that research. Hey, call me, I'll help you. I'll share my resources with you. Happy to do that.
Is that information on your website? Can people find your number to contact you?
My phone number or my email, all of it's on there, yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
And again, it's totalimageconsultants.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And Ginger, this has been delightful. I so appreciate what you're doing to raise awareness. And when I knew you were coming on the show, I was so excited, because this is an aspect of the vegan industry we don't often talk about. So I really appreciate what you're doing, what you will continue to do. And thank you so much for your time to come on and share with the community about what it means to be an aligned vegan who's running a successful business. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.